doing what he loved. He was killed November 15th, 2005 in Taji, Iraq. David Lee Edney.
Jacques Fontaine.
Jerry Lee.
Danny Dietz.
Seamus McLean Davey.
Sandy Jones.
Matt Leathers.
James Doherty.
Daniel Jason Freeman. Stephen D. Berryhill.
Harold Hauser.
Joseph Jeffries.
Earl Hughes.
Steve S. McCoskey. Ken had been in Iraq for 384 days when he was killed in action on May 30th, 2004 in Najaf, Iraq. Timothy M. Gibson.
Richard Lawrence.
Patrick Allen DeVoe II.
Grover Saints. He died an American hero on December 17, 1944 during the Battle of the Bulge in World War II, fighting to protect all Americans.
Dave Tapper.
Eugene Chauvinist.
Robert Mongenson.
Donald Larson.
J.F. Sadler.
William Temple.
His service, dedication, and love for our country will live on in everyone who knew him.
My name is Valdemar E. de Herrera. For 4 months, we worked before the war there. We worked only 4 days training. The day that the war started, they put us on a half ration. We were short of food, short of ammunition, short of everything. While we were fighting, there were some days that we didn't eat at all. Japanese, what are the Philippines? We had only a bayonet and a rifle, no hand grenades, no nothing. Fighting the Japanese. So the general was in charge of the Philippines, Bataan, decided to surrender.
The Japanese, after they took other prisoners over on that main island where the beginning of the Death March started, they said, "We don't want you right here, walk up this trail. Get away from here." And they put them on that walk, and they walked the whole darn way, all the way up to the top. They forbid the Americans to rest, and that's what created the Death March.
Josh Jesperson.
My name is MANGE.
Brian McPherson.
Willy Forsyth.
Navy SEAL.
Military police.
United States Marine.
Pararescue man.
I am co-founder of Mission Memorial Day.
I was a co-founder of Mission Memorial Day. This year, we decided to do the Bataan Death March.
It was a no-brainer that I was going to be here.
Knowing a tiny bit about what the Bataan Death March was, and knowing that the Philippines is a hot place.
We wanted to put ourselves in the conditions of what those men felt like when they had to march.
It was a lot more painful walking on my feet than I thought it would be.
There was times that I thought that I was going to pass out and have someone carry me.
Lack of nutrition, loss of water, and how it was affecting us both physically and mentally.
You hear, about the greatest generation all the time from World War II. And
You can just feel the history, and like you're walking with a ghost.
To continue our mission of retaking and reclaiming what Memorial Day really means to us and what the day is really about.
We came here to recreate the Death March. We started off the trip in Manila, walking around a grimy, dingy city, not knowing what we were getting into. We woke up early in the morning to head over to Mariveles to take the ferry over, but sure enough, the ferry doesn't exist anymore. It hasn't for a number of years. So, like any good adventure, you gotta start with the wrong turn. So we took a bus ride to Mariveles instead. We planned on being there at 8 in the morning to start hiking. Now, by the time we got there and got off the bus and got to Steppen, it was about 3:30 p.m. Started knocking out mile markers. Views were pretty awesome. After 2 hours or so, it got dark, which, whatever, that's fine. Just throw the lights on. And at about 19K, we decided we saw a good lot to bivvy in. Probably about 2 a.m., we all felt a ripple in the earth, which was an earthquake.
We were probably all awake anyway.
Yeah. And it went, ooh.
It was like a nice massage.
I wasn't spacing out. That was real.
Heat lightning started showing up in the sky. Then about a half hour later, we started getting poured on. That was the night. Day 2 was hard on people. First few markers, rather than being 1 kilometer apart like they were supposed to, more like 1.5 miles apart, maybe even 2 miles apart. We were walking on the main highway, that's where the route goes, and then it veers right onto a more local road, which was such a relief not having to worry about big rigs and all kinds of exhaust. And it was just so much better being on this one road. We were starving at this point, because we hadn't eaten anything yet. So we're picking through a pile of rotting mangoes on the side of the road, and this family is like, hey, what you doing? You want mangoes? I thought they were gonna yell at us because I thought it was like their harvest pile. But they call us over and they say, hey, here, we'll get you mangoes.
All right, check it out.
Bucket of mangoes.
Some mangoes.
So they come out with a big bucket of mangoes, and we have some fresh mangoes right there on the spot. And they gave us some to take on the road. And they gave us water, which was awesome because I hadn't had a sip of water yet. About halfway through the day, we finally got to a 7-Eleven.
I don't think they had soy sauce. You really gotta savor it. Just eat it. When all you're eating for the whole day is 1 rice ball.
It was just a rice ball, but it was a huge morale boost. So that was awesome. And then we started hiking again, and the morale quickly dropped back down. As the afternoon heat got to heat index like 90, 95 or something. You know, we then realized that since we'd cut the day before short to 19K, we had to do about 24 clicks that day. But we would have to walk another 2 to 3K if we wanted to bed down somewhere outside. First experience the brutal heat we were gonna have, and then having to do 24 clicks in the day. We were looking at Margot's legs, and her heat rash had spread pretty good, almost to her knees, and her feet were battered. We realized that we had no choice but to get a cheap room and get her a shower. We had to cool her legs off, we had to do something. And nobody else showered. We tried to keep it real. You know, by not showering, just, you know, we had to take care of her, we had to take care of our teammate.
We were at kilometer 44. We just made the city of Palanga. At this stage, they were given a 1/4 cup of rice and a little bit of salt. The city said that it smelled like dysentery, blood, and bodies for months after.
So on day 3, we're walking through all these villages, and you know, obviously it's getting hot again. But we started noticing that all the villagers are saying good morning and where are you going? And, oh, Death March. And they were legitimately worried about us and our safety.
Sure. It's a morale booster though. Big time. It was just like this morning when there was a bridge down and we didn't know the route, and the locals just pointed us in the right direction because they knew what we were doing and what we were about.
I think another kilometer up the road, somebody said, Memorial Day. Death March. That was awesome. These people know about the Death March, but this guy also knew that it was Memorial Day for us, which was the next day, but he knew what we were doing, and a lot of them did. They knew what we were doing, and they appreciated it, and they were keeping us safe. So now we're limping down the road, and it's raining out, and we walk by this house, and they say, you know, hey Joe, come here, come here. And they offer to let us sit in their little patio where their store is and hide from the rain.
Thank you so much. That's super.
Okay, thank you.
We really appreciate it.
And then we get in there and they see how beat up and kind of bruised and tired we are. And they realize that we kind of need a place to stay. And sure enough, they have a little bamboo hut they let us stay in for the night. So it was really cool to see how friendly these people were and how motivating they were and how much they seemed to want us to do this march and to walk. And that was awesome.
Good morning. San Fernando. Stepping off 445 early as shit. That gets me fired up.
We start walking. We start the day at kilometer marker 70. 7-0. Early in the day, we started knocking them out. Doing great. So we decided to knock out the last 30K that day. The heat index is probably 105 at this point. So you know it's bad when the locals themselves are warning you to stay in the shade because it's too hot out.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they were saying that because we're a bunch of white people walking around and just sweating our asses off, but I don't know. But they weren't outside. We go to a place that looks like they might have some shade and cold water, so we go in there, and it's another nice family, and they offer us some Filipino rice soup and cold water and stuff. So we're sitting there and enjoying this cold water because it is unbelievably hot.
How you feeling, Margot?
It's hot.
The mile marker 102 is off the beaten path, a turn off the main road, and we had no idea. Oh, so we keep walking on the main road, and it takes us into the town center of San Fernando, which is exactly what you would imagine a city in Southeast Asia is like at night. Cars everywhere, horns whizzing by, people walking in and out of you. Chaos. We were just getting so frustrated walking around this town square looking for this thing, and we finally found kilometer marker 102.
I can't see.
We're getting on the train. Campus.
That's the best verse.
I know. I was getting there.
I was doing a play and then I'm like, oh, this is what they had to do, so.
When these prisoners got off train cars in Campus, they were crammed into these things like sardines, knowing that they had crammed 100 people into these 15x5 train cars. This black box with a metal roof. We were just pissed off. Infuriated us. We tried to take a picture out front. Somebody asked if we should smile. And nobody could. Nobody wanted to, nobody desired to. We were just mad. You can see it in our faces in the picture. We were just infuriated. You know, we could feel and measure the suffering that happened in these things, and the smell. You know, because we could smell ourselves. Our bodies were emitting ammonia because, you know, eating less than 500 calories a day, our bodies were eating themselves. And we could only imagine our bodies in there, you know, maybe one or two of us dying in this box, that just made us so angry and mad that our fellow countrymen and the Filipinos had to go through that, had to be shoved in that box and die. Gets 112. It's awesome. It was so amazing. It just finally hit us. The impression of what we did blew up in all our minds because it completely floored all of us.
112.
Feeling of relief is just incredible.
So good.
I feel so good. I'm so happy.
We took a taxi over to the Kapis National Shrine. And we saw the big wall of names of Filipino soldiers. And when we walked into that, I think it kind of like hit everybody. All the names of the Americans that died as POWs, either in the march or at the POW camps. And God, that was really, really cool because it was the first time we had seen a list of American names and a tribute truly to the Americans that went through the whole thing.
I feel a little bit more of what the hell of war is. And the cost that it has not only put on Americans, but those family members that lost their brother or their sister or their son or daughter.
Walking through the halls of all these names of people that are still unaccounted for.
I don't think that I'll ever spend another Memorial Day like this. I hope to.
It's hard to put in words, but I will say that this is the best Memorial Day I've ever had as far as truly getting into what Memorial Day is. And I hope to continue to be able to do something like this every year.